What's up, Taiwan? I'm Chi with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. With just weeks to go until the vote, presidential candidates are hitting the campaign trail hard. Here's the latest. Vice President Lai Ching-te sits among his supporters, holding up boards spelling out the character for Go. The ruling Democratic Progressive Party's presidential candidate is on a 4-day round-the-nation tour. At this campaign stop in southern Taiwan, he promised to build up the local industry.
我们要把嘉义科学园区吸引半导体、精密机械、精准医疗厂商进驻。我们一定要在2029年完成园区开发。
The opposition Kuomintang's presidential candidate, Hou You-ih, was also campaigning in Chiayi, his hometown. As a former police chief, he called for more government support for the country's emergency responders.
咱别人对着危险要什么牺牲，因对着危险要冲进，所以咱政府要做警消的后盾，尤其人力不够、设备不够，政府爱紧甲因照顾因好势。
The Taiwan People's Party presidential candidate, Ko Wen-je, wasn't on the campaign trail, instead opting to prepare for next Saturday's presidential debate. Ke is facing criticism over an illegal parking lot in Hsinchu that he co-owns. His party says he will tear down the parking lot and restore it to farmland. He'll also donate the rent he earned from it to charity.
总共是120万元，那柯文哲主席将会捐给新竹市政府的社会局。 第二个，我们今天入场刨除，那也会依法完成所有恢复农用的过程。
With about 3 weeks left before the election, a poll conducted by MyFormosa shows Lai leading Ho by a small margin and Ke trailing behind. The candidates will continue ramping up their campaign efforts to get as much support as they can before the big day. Taiwan's vice presidential candidates have appeared in their first Televised forum to back their parties in the race to take the country's top seat. Joyce Zheng has this report.
Clashing over arguably the biggest issue in Taiwan's upcoming elections, China.
我们不会让台海爆发战争。
民进党呢，却不了解中国大陆，完全不了解共产党。
Geopolitical tensions with China have historically dominated Taiwan's politics, and it's no surprise that it took up a large chunk of the 3 vice presidential candidates' first televised policy forum, a chance to back their party's vision for Taiwan. The main opposition Kuomintang or KMT's hopeful media personality Zhao Shaokang went on the offensive, blaming the ruling DPP or Democratic Progressive Party for worsening ties with China over the last 8 years, a period that's seen Beijing up military activity around the Taiwan Strait.
两岸之间要谈，不能不谈啊！而且甚至两岸还要建立一个军事沟通的机制，免得误判啊。
More exchanges with China are central to the KMT's philosophy of keeping Taiwan safe. The ruling DPP's VP pick and former top Taiwanese envoy to the United States, Bi Kim-hsiao, said she agrees with Zhao's call for cross-strait dialogue, but warned that Taipei shouldn't get too close to Beijing.
在21世纪的今天，经济安全就是国家安全。全世界先进的工业发展国家都在去风险化，降低对中国经济的依赖。难道我们要背道而驰？
In what's long been a two-party democracy, Taiwanese voters now have a third option in this election. At the forum, Dark Horse Party, the Taiwan People's Party, or TPP, and their VP pick, former business exec Cynthia Wu, chose to skirt the divisive cross-strait issue. Instead, Wu spoke on gender issues and healthcare, and her vision for Taiwan's tech-driven economy.
过去台湾发展的半导体业是由政府强力主导。 挑出这个特别的产业，未来的台湾反过来，为了要让经济翻转，不要再挑选产业，只要把经济的环境的土壤顾好，产业就能自然开花结果。
For VP picks bidding to lead Taiwan, they're aiming to round out their running mate, ensuring their duo is best positioned to win over the people. Devin Tai and Joyce Sun for TaiwanPlus.
Well, much of the focus of Taiwan's upcoming elections is on the country's 3 biggest parties. There's plenty of competition down ballot too. Smaller parties offer a place for more radical ideas. including on Taiwan's future relationship with China. Eric Gao reports.
Part of China or independent? Democratic Progressive Party versus Chinese nationalist Kuomintang. Since becoming a democracy, Taiwan's political divide has followed a familiar pattern. But while disagreeing on the details, this upcoming election, neither of the country's big parties are arguing for a change in the so-called status quo. Taiwan is officially called the Republic of China, but is not part of the communist country across the Taiwan Strait that's governed by Beijing. And there's a good reason for that. Only 4.5% of Taiwanese want to establish a distinct Republic of Taiwan as soon as possible. And even less, only 1.6% want to unify with China, meaning most people want to keep things as they are. And where voters go, politicians follow. But there are now other political parties looking to fill the void left by mainstream politicians. Among them is the New Party.
国民党前一阵子他说不统不独不武嘛，那我们是觉得要统嘛，我们主张和平统一嘛。
A breakaway group from the Kuomintang, the New Party used to be one of the largest in Taiwan, winning the third most legislative seats in the 1990s. But now, due to its strident promotion of unification with China, it enjoys the support of only about 1% of Taiwanese voters, most of them elderly, but not all.
我是内心怀抱着强烈的中华民族意识的一个小女生，对，那我是最近才入党。那其实我一直在跟就是泛蓝，不管是国民党或者是新党，都一直保有着友好的关系。
This belief, not just in Chinese identity, but the idea of a Chinese race, drives the modern New Party. Its election event, doubling as a memorial for the Nanjing Massacre, which saw Japan kill tens of thousands of Chinese in 1937. And in the party's office, books written by a Chinese nationalist who committed a mass shooting at a Taiwanese church in California. It's a vision in stark contrast to that of the Taiwan State-Building Party, whose members believe Taiwan needs to shed all its remaining links with China as soon as possible. For them, Taiwan has never been a part of China, and maintaining the status quo suppresses local identity.
更严重的这种歧视性的，就是中国作为一个中华，或是中国，或是文化性的，作为一个优位的，而台湾不论是地理的，或是文化的，或是历史的，作为一个低位的，其实这就是歧视性体制。
你们一直在讲台独，讲台独，那就是中国就会打过来。我就会回他们说，我们就算我们现在台湾的存在，对中国就已经是一个威胁了。
Taking this position, the Taiwan State-Building Party won a seat in the legislature in 2020, while the pro-unification New Party didn't. But it still has a long way to go, currently polling under 5%.
我若会当入密国会，我就会当好好监督，因为台湾需要第二个本土的政党。
Ultimately, the relationship with China and the struggle for identity continue to define Taiwanese politics. But January's ballot will also offer radically different visions for the country's future, polar alternatives to the status quo. Kama Xu, Devin Tsai, Ed Moon, and Eric Gao for TaiwanPlus.
U.S. President Joe Biden has signed a massive defense bill to help counter Chinese aggression against Taiwan and in the Indo-Pacific region. The National Defense Authorization Act is a record $886 billion US package that includes funding for a training program for Taiwan's military and support for the country's cybersecurity. It also includes a plan to enhance joint drills with the allies in the region and greenlights the sale of nuclear-powered submarines to Australia. China claims Taiwan and the entire South China Sea as its territory and has been escalating military activity in the region. The UN Security Council will boost humanitarian aid to Gaza after passing a toned-down agreement that stopped short of calling for a ceasefire. The US chose to abstain from the vote after threatening to veto the resolution, following days of indecision about the language on hostilities and aid. The decision comes amid international calls to end the months-long war, which has left residents of Gaza displaced, without medical care, and on the brink of famine. Gaza's health ministry says more than 20,000 people have been killed by Israeli strikes since the conflict began. Israel's war in Gaza is in response to an attack by Hamas on October 7, killing 1,200 people and taking about 240 hostage. Taiwan and Canada are boosting trade and investment between the two countries. Taiwan's Office of Trade Negotiations says they've signed a deal that will give Taiwanese companies greater access to the North American market. The deal is part of Taiwan's efforts to bolster business ties between democratic countries and gain entry to a major Pan-Pacific trade pact. The Czech Republic will open a Czech center in Taiwan to deepen ties between the two countries. The move is part of a deal to boost business between the two sides. Under the agreement, Taipei and Prague aim to pursue more economic, technological, and cultural exchanges. It comes amid a rise in diplomatic exchanges between the two countries. It's the holiday season, but this time of year isn't necessarily a holly-jolly time for everyone in Taiwan. Some families still struggle to access food and basic necessities. Leslie Liao is in Taoyuan following a charity drive that's trying to spread some holiday cheer.
It's Saturday, December 23rd, which means Christmas is right around the corner. And while it's a time of celebration for most people, not everyone has the luxury to get festive around the holidays. This time of year is usually one of giving, and today, the Chinese Christian Relief Association is doing just that. They've come to a remote part of the country to hand out things like food and other necessities like warm clothing to help with the cold winter to people in need. But they're also making home calls to perhaps elderly people who live alone and can't make it to the church. But they're not just here handing out material goods, they're also offering services like makeovers and dental checkups to make sure that everyone can have a healthy and comfortable holiday season.
我们是配合1919这个活动，我们来做口腔的检查以及做治疗的部分。
我们为了像就是比较偏向的一些老阿公老阿嬷做一些造型剪头发这样子。
Now, I caught up with a few volunteers and asked them what inspired them to spend their holidays helping other people.
从一样就是去别人家里，然后互换礼物之类的，就是可以用一年的时间，用一次的时间来体验看看不同的生活。
其实我觉得这是一个蛮有意义的哈，特别在这样的一个岁末年初的时候，透过这样的一个送暖的活动来帮助社会当中有需要的家庭。
Over the next 10 days, these volunteers will be traveling around Taiwan and bringing essential goods and services to people who need them the most, all to spread as much holiday cheer as they possibly can. John Su and Leslie Liao in Taoyuan for TaiwanPlus.
Sending a message to smokers in Taiwan, a woman in the northeastern county of Ilan is picking up cigarette butts to do her bit for the environment. Irene Lin has the story.
Picking up one cigarette butt at a time, Jiang Yunqian is raising awareness of cigarette butt littering.
烟蒂里面有一个非常可怕的成分叫做醋酸纤维。那其实烟呢，它除了尼古丁，还有很多有毒的物质。
Jiang has been working to protect the environment for years and regularly participates in beach cleaning events. More recently, she's joined other volunteers cleaning an oil spill that's hit Taiwan's northeastern coast. The land pollution is also an issue she cares about. Jiang's picking up cigarette butts along the entire coast of the northeastern county of Ilan. She's doing it for the environment and her kids. She says she hopes to leave the world clean and safe for future generations. Many passerbys were touched by Jiang's activism and volunteered to help.
觉得就是很厉害，这样子愿意这样子走，对，然后不会这种脏污吧。
Jiang says she often sees cigarette butts tossed on the streets. But this kind of littering doesn't just harm the environment. In most places in Taiwan, it's an offense you can get fined up to $120 for.
如果你没有地方丢，你应该把烟蒂熄灭后自己带一个包包袋子自己带回家。
Jiang is just halfway through her 6-day journey, and she's continuing to inspire people along the way, making it clear that smokers might want to think twice before littering and leaving the public to clean up after them. Klein Wang and Irene Lin for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally today, we leave you images of a scuba Santa bringing holiday cheer in an aquarium in Rio de Janeiro. I'm Sandy Chi, take care and see you next time.